So I thought I'd show you one of those live. You saw a little bit of it, and to make it a little bit relevant to the East End Chamber of Commerce, we got these bricks here, and this one I have unproductive written on it. Could you tell me if that's real? Is it perforated at all?
That is real.
That is a heavy brick, right? All right. And this next one I have unemployment. Could you gentlemen tell me? It's kind of the whole purpose of the Chamber of Commerce, right? To make sure that we're. And this last one, I have poverty. Did you check that one out? I think we'd all agree that we're trying to work against all three of these things in our community. And this is the part where I say the disclaimer, don't try this at home. Don't get your gardening bricks outside and snap them. I learned how to do it from a karate instructor. Thank you. Can we go to that next slide, please? Okay, this is the part that gets a little bit serious. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about is persevering and persisting through adversity. I told you a little bit about the first big kind of adversity in my career and my life when I moved down here. But the second one was 2011. I was married for 10 years. I had twin boys that were identical, 2.5-year-olds at the time. And I was married to the woman that was the MC on court, and she was also the dance director. Before she was the dance director, she was the captain of the dance team, and she was a member of the dance team for 7 years before that. She was an accountant by trade, but she came to work for the Houston Rockets when they were looking for a new dance director, and I got her the job. August 2011, up in one day she decides, I don't love you anymore, and I don't want to be married anymore. And now here we are at the Rockets, where I'm the mascot. She's the MC on court. A lot of the skits we do together. We didn't let anybody know for the first 3 months. I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, I was devastated. It was a unilateral decision on her part. I've since come to look at this in a much different way, as the biggest favor ever has been done for me. But at the time, I certainly did not. I would throw up at work at times. I'd come in there for the first 3 months, especially when nobody knew. It was very difficult. One day I'm leaving the game with my boys. They're literally just inside of talking. They're not even 3 years old yet. And we're walking out of the office because they had watched the game. And my one boy, Luke, says, "Hey, Daddy, that's Jason's office." Now, the second he said that, it clicked in my head. I didn't act like I knew anything with him, but there's only 2 people in this office that my children know the names of. They don't know my boss's name. They don't even know the players' names at this point. So that kind of tells me why that unilateral decision got made. My father at the same time was suffering from a disease called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. It is an unknown scarring of the lungs. They don't know why it happens, and they don't know any cure for it. And so he's degenerating, he's deteriorating. Some people get it and are diagnosed with it and are dead within 6 months. Some people are diagnosed and they live with it for 20 years. During this period, he was going downhill. He got prescribed 24 hours a day oxygen, and come the first of the year, he was housebound. He couldn't leave the house. I had my boys exactly half the time. And frankly, I was going on a little bit of a rampage socially with dating, because I hadn't been dating for 11 years, didn't think I'd ever date again, and was just trying to probably prove something to myself that I was attractive or worth dating. And come February 2nd, I was supposed to go on an 8-day out-of-town trip for work. I go out to my father and mother's house to have lunch with them before I go, and I bring my twins out with me. My father can't even get through a full sentence because he's so short of breath. Now, my dad's kind of old school. Fathers don't really take advice from sons very well. They sure can give it to sons, but they're not very good at listening to it. And I said, I think I should call your doctors because, I think you're in pretty dire straits right now. He said, no, we have a test in 2 weeks to see if I'm eligible to be on the transplant list. And I said, I'm not worried about you making it to the test in 2 weeks. I think you're gonna die while I'm out of town in the next 8 days. And with that, he just lowered his eyes and he said, my doctor's numbers are in on my nightstand. So after about 10-15 minutes, finding out who I should be talking to, I told him that his oxygen levels were in the 60s the night before. They said, 60s? You need to rush into the hospital immediately. Jump in the car with my twins, carrying my dad, my mom from behind. She can't even make it. My father can't even make it to the car. I had to yell at my mom to bring a chair from behind and put it under him 10 feet away from the entrance of the car. Finally, he sits down, composes himself, and then I help him the other 10 feet just to get into the car. Call my not ex-wife officially, but separated ex-wife, say, I don't know what you're doing, but I need you to jump on 45 North, start driving north because I'm coming from the Woodlands. I got to get my dad to the emergency room. She does, trade the boys out, they're crying, everybody's upset, get them into the hospital. Within a half hour, the emergency doc tells me, your dad's very sick. If you hadn't brought him in within the next 12 hours, he would have died of a heart attack or a stroke. They said, well, what's going on? He's got the idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis and a case of pneumonia has severely compromised it to the point where he's only operating on like 5% lung capacity. So they put him on 16 liters of oxygen. They put him on a very high dosage of steroid and antibiotic. And they're like, we can clear up the pneumonia now that he's here, but if he doesn't have a transplant, he only has about 3 months, 12 weeks is what they actually said to me. So that's still going through the divorce. The divorce hadn't finalized till March. And then I'm dating several people, and Valentine's Day is coming up. And I'm very clear with everybody I'm dating that, I'm not really trying to get back into something right now. So I'm being honest, but I'm be honest with you, I was dating 7 girls at the time. And I went to James Avery and I bought 7 different charms. And each one was something very specific to that girl. So one of the girls I was dating owned a Fleming's restaurant and it was a spatula. And the other girl was a disc jockey and she got a microphone. And the ladies at James Avery just thought I was a hoot. Because here I am with 7 bags, Well, come around the 12th of February, my dad's in the hospital, I'm going to visit him every single day. I come into the, on the 12th, I never made the trip out of town. So now I have all this free time. Let me backtrack. On the 2nd, I was supposed to be out of town. So I ended up going out on this date that was unplanned with this girl, Amy, who I'd met on Match.com. Only girl I've ever met on Match.com, only date I ever had on it. We end up going out, I think the 2nd of February, right after I was at like a marathon session at the hospital, and didn't really go into it all with her, but we dated for a hot, furious 10 days, and on the 12th, we were sitting at a little pub, and she says to me, one of the most unnerving things I've ever heard in my life. She says, I'm not sure exactly what you're doing right now. I know you're still on the divorce roller coaster, but I'm not going to see any people anymore. I've found what I want. I'm only going to date you, but you need to do whatever you need to do, and whatever decision you make is fine with me. It was the craziest, most powerful thing. There was no quid pro quo. I mean, never in my life was it like ever, yeah, okay, let's agree to be exclusive. She was like, nope, I know what it's like to get divorced. This guy needs to go through his own process. He's not going to be bullied. And she says that, and I just stared at her. And after about 30 seconds, I was like, no, I'm good. And then I went home, The next day, this is the 13th of February, I sat down and I called all 6 of those other girls and I broke up with them. And then I walked into James Avery and I returned all 6 of the gifts. And I said, and they were like, what are you doing here? And I was like, it's just one I chose. She's really great, just whatever I can get with the 6 of these, please. So then I work all day on the 14th of February doing clutch crams all over the city. Stopped and saw my dad at Kindred Hospital. At the end of the day, I worked from about 5 a.m. until 6 or 7 p.m. I go out to Kingwood to take Amy and her daughter, who was 12 years old at the time, out to dinner. Finish that, go home, pick up my boys because it was my night, take them out to my parents' house, go to sleep. They're on each side of me because anytime that I was not, if I did not have company, and if it was a night that I had my children, they slept with me because I was really needing that. And I got both of my twin boys sleeping on each side of me, and at 1:30 in the morning we get the call, your dad's getting his lungs, we need you to come to the hospital now. So I get the boys up, they're groggy. I called Amy and I said, listen, we've been dating all of 36 hours exclusively, and this is pretty heavy stuff, but I just feel like it would be wrong not to tell you what's happening. I explained the situation. She says, what hospital? I'll be there. I was like, no, don't do that. What hospital? She ends up there. I swing by, pick my brother up, and we bring my kids to the hospital, called my ex-wife, said, I need you to pick them up. Now I'm at the hospital. This is where the story gets really interesting. My house was up for sale for 2 years. 2 years in a horrible market because my ex-wife wanted to sell it, and that was one of the things that led to a lot of the friction in the marriage. We'd put a pool in, we'd put $120,000 in upgrades into the house. It's been up for sale for 2 years. We've got a divorce that is still a court date scheduled for a month from now. We need to unload this property. Guess what the closing day was? The 15th of February. So now it's 3:30 in the morning, I'm on the phone calling my realtors in the middle of the night saying, when you wake up, I think I'm gonna have to sign power of attorney over. They wake up, call me at 7, don't do that, we'll send a closing agent to the hospital, you can close your documents in the hospital. Craziest half hour starts at 10:30. I'm closing the documents with Amy sitting here, who has just met my mother. Hey, here's my new girlfriend. I know I'm not divorced yet, but and my brother, and I'm closing the documents, and the woman who's the closing agent stamps something. She's a notary public, and I said, a notary public. Oh, no. And I said, will you stamp something else for me? And she says, yes, but I have to meet the person. What is it? I said, it's my dad's will. I was supposed to get it notarized today at the Rockets office before I went to my closing because my ex-wife is still in the will and he doesn't want to go into life-saving double lung transplant surgery with my ex-wife's name still in the will. She says, okay, let's finish closing your house. 5 minutes later, I'm still closing the house. The doctors come back and they say, I'm sorry, folks, we have to go. You have 5 minutes to say your piece to him. Going into this surgery where they're literally going to cut the lungs out of his chest and put these new ones in. So we all jump up, including the closing agent I've just met 10 minutes ago. We go back. I go to my dad. I say, Dad, do you really want to do this right now? I'm sure it'll be fine. No, I want my will updated. I said, okay. Literally, I ID'd him in the bed. He signs the papers, stamps it. I said, by the way, this is my new girlfriend as of 36 hours. Her name's Amy. I'm in the middle of closing my house, Dad. That's why the notary republic's here. It's not just a coincidence. I turn around. I am now 2 feet from the back of my dad's bed, and I am at this little doctor stand closing it, sporadically losing it down, sobbing, sucking a deep breath in, going back to closing. The closing agent starts crying and sobbing. I finish closing. She gives me this big kiss and hug, says, God bless you. We turn around. Right at that point, my assistant of 15 years, a little short, heavy-set guy that's been with me the whole time, you might recognize, comes into the hospital just in the nick of time, says the Lord's Prayer with us in a circle, and the doctors literally take the gurney and the bed out of the circle of prayer. And they said, I'm sorry folks, but we have to start the surgery because the lungs have to be ready to be put in as soon as they get into the hospital. So the one message that I would like to leave with you guys from that story is we're all stronger than we think we are. If you had told me that I could do that and multitask and go through that much emotion and uncertainty and pain all in a half-hour period, I would have said you're crazy. But in the moment, we are all stronger than we think we are. If you had told me when I was 250 pounds that I could lose that weight in 6 months and run a marathon in 3 hours and 46 minutes at an 8:30 pace, and then do the half the next year at a 7:30 pace, and then the year after that, run the whole thing in my Clutch the Bear costume, I would have said you're nuts. But the point is we never know really how powerful we can be until we're in that situation. This is Rob Heidemann listening to his son Ian Heidemann's lungs inside of my dad's chest. That's Janice listening to her son's lungs in my dad's chest. Reggie received her son's heart. This is my ex-wife. I retired from the Rockets and they threw a party for me. Francis actually attended. Everybody in my family wanted to go to the game, or wanted to go to the party. My wife, my parents, everybody. We had no sitter. My ex-wife is one of our best friends now. She babysat our brand new twins as well as our twins. So, if you're committed to a positive outcome, and we're getting close, right, Francis? Yeah. So I found a calling. You're going to see these billboards around town. There's 4 of them that go up November 14th, and they'll be up rotating around town for a year. Next slide.